Morrowind. Holy crap. Where do I even start with Morrowind? Morrowind would come out in 2002, if I remember right. I'd have been 19, just out of high school very recently. I'd have been just about starting college. I was going through a lot of psychological issues during that time. Had a lot of problems. Morrowind was a big part of my life. It was a huge escape from the difficulties that I was dealing with in the real world. And so Morrowind became just an incredibly important part of my young adulthood. And I had never played an Elder Scrolls game. I had not played Arena or Daggerfall or the other ones that had come before Morrowind either. Redguard and Battlespire and stuff. I think Redguard was before Morrowind. Yeah, I'm almost sure it was. So I had this on the Xbox, and this along with... what was the other game? XCOM UFO Defense on PS1. I didn't have it for PC at the time. Those were like the most important games of my young adulthood. So Morrowind is a game that is near and dear to my heart. It's very special to me. And there's a little bit of backstory to why I'm doing an LP of this. It's not actually something that I sat down and decided to do on my own. Nori's birthday happened very, very recently at the time of this recording. And in addition to the other stuff I did for his birthday, I built him a few model kits and things like that. Because I believe in doing things related to who you are for somebody's birthday to give them a present that's personal, if possible. So I asked him to pick any game that he wanted, and I would do an LP of it on the channel, just specially for him. And to my delight, he picked Morrowind, which I probably wouldn't have done on my own because it's massive. This will be 100 episodes or something crazy like that, I'm sure. But no, I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to do it. I'm glad that I had the impetus and the push from him to go do it because I got a lot of thoughts on this game. A couple things that I need to go over before we get started. Morrowind didn't age super well in some aspects. As I said, it's like a 19, 20-ish year old game now. Going on 20, yeah. It's half my age, and I'm old, so it's old too. Because half of old equals old, I needed to do some things to fix it. So I downloaded the Morrowind code patch. You can see that in the bottom corner here. MCP 2.4 is running. This fixes some of the in-baked coding issues with Morrowind. A lot of the crashes, a lot of the problems with the game in general are fixed by this, just so you know. This will be a vanilla playthrough as much as is possible these days. I'm not using any mods that substantively change the game. I am using bug fixes, basically, and code patches and performance improvements. I'm also using an AI upscaler texture pack that makes the game look a little bit better. Because the graphics in Morrowind were fugly, let's face it. Everything in Morrowind pretty much was hideously ugly. And not necessarily in the way that they intended, because it was early 3D graphics and it didn't look great. But things look a little bit better now. It's going to be an experience that you would have pretty much approximate to playing it yourself. Just vanilla if you didn't do any modding or anything. So let's go ahead and get started and see the intro. Each event is preceded by prophecy, but without the hero, there is no event. Zurin Arctis, the Underking. In the waning years of the Third Era of Tamriel, a prisoner born on a certain day to uncertain parents was sent under guard, without explanation, to Morrowind, ignorant of the role he was to play in that nation's history. Damn, that was a big sentence. That was one sentence.
They have taken you from the Imperial City's prison, first by carriage and now by boat. To the east, to Morrowind. Fear not, for I am watchful. You have been chosen.
Many fall, but one remains.
Wake up. We're here. Why are you shaking? Are you okay? Wake up.
No, I'm not okay. There's a reverb lady
Stand
talking
up.
to me in my sleep.
There you go. You were dreaming. What's your name?
Me? Like, what's my name? I'd hope you know by now. Chay Silver. Internet funny man.
Not even last night's storm could wake you. I heard them say we've reached Morrowind. I'm sure they'll let us go.
This is Jib. He is a great hero in his own right, but not in this game. We'll catch up with him in
Quiet.
another game, maybe.
Here comes the guard.
This is where you get off. Come with me.
I'm gonna swagger out of here now. Look at that
Back with
swagger.
What they say.
Yeah, okay. Now, I've played this game probably 1,000 times, and I still find new things in it. Such as, what I noticed when I was testing, there's fucking skeletons everywhere in the cargo hold? Why are there Sir, we need to have a discussion about the skeletons. This is like a cargo and prison boat? What? The skeleton, why are there so many skulls, sir? Are you just gonna ignore me?
Get yourself up on deck and let's keep this as civil as possible.
There's only a certain degree of civil... Like, there's only so much civility when there's skeletons, sir.
The sooner you leave, the sooner we can move on.
Got a lot of skeletons to haul around the world. Okay, fine.
This is where they want you. Head down to the dock and I'll show you to the census office.
This is the first polite, nice guard you'll meet, and one of the only ones.
You finally arrived, but our records don't show from where.
All right, time to pick a race. Now, I've already made my decisions, but I'm going to go over them with you, because a lot of people didn't play Morrowind. Now, I imagine that a lot of people watching this did, but Nori insists that this is a game not a lot of people played, and it will be interesting for them to see an LP. And since this is for Nori and he'll want to understand everything, I'm just going to go through the character creation process. Okay, you have 10 racial options. They're the same in every game. Argonian. Morrowind, you don't play beast races. Just full stop. They have a terrible disadvantage in that they have digitigrade feet and, like, snouts. So, with that, that means they can't wear closed helmets. They can only wear open helmets, of which there aren't many. And few unique ones that are any good. And they also can't wear boots or shoes of any kind. Just period. Which eliminates the most important item in the game. Which we'll see way later. Beast races are just out. You don't play them. It's too much of a disadvantage, even though Argonians and Khajiit are both very good. The good thing about Argonians is they have a good skill spread. You generally don't want multiple kinds of melee weapons and multiple kinds of armor having skill bonuses because you're not really going to use that. Like, you don't need sword and axe and blunt and spear on the same character. It's not really helpful, especially in the early game. So they don't have any of that. They do have unarmored, which is a terrible skill. But generally their skill spread is good. They have a high resistance to disease, they're immune to poison, and they can water breathe on demand, which is really good. It's just a pity that they're unusable without mods to change the fact that they can't wear most of the important items. Bretons. Bretons are, in addition to having some amazing hair right there, Bretons are pretty great. They have nothing but magical skill bonuses, of which you can have as many of those as you like. You can use Conjuration and Mysticism and Illusion and stuff. That's fine. You're going to. Everybody uses some magic in Morrowind. They have a bonus amount of magicka. It's 50% of their int more, so if you had like 50 int, you'd get an extra 25 magicka from it, which is really good. They resist 50% of magicka, and that's not like fireballs or lightning bolts or icicles or whatever. That's stuff like drain life and paralyze and stuff. Stuff that's not elemental aspected magic. And that's a very good ability. Dragon Skin is a shield. It's some protection once a day for 60. It's not a big deal. You don't care about Dragon Skin. You do care about resist magicka and your magicka bonus, though. That's pretty great. Bretons make good wizards, and they can be decent at just about everything, though. They're a decent all-rounder. Dark Elves, the Dunmer. And this guy really puts the dun in Dunmer. Look at that face. He is tired of this shit. Dunmer are pretty great. They don't have a lot of bad things. They do have Short Blade and Long Blade, of which Long Blade is just a much better choice, so Short Blade's kind of a waste there. But they get Ancestor Guardian, which is once a day, 50 points of Sanctuary for a minute. Sanctuary is just flat dodge, so they just get an extra 50% dodge. So if they already had like a 10%, they'd have 60%. It's additive, not like a percentage of what their base is. So they can become almost unhittable for a minute once a day, and they gain 75% resist fire just automatically forever. That's really good. The resist fire is a big deal. They're pretty nice. I like Dark Elves pretty well. High Elves. High Elves are basically a more magic-focused Breton. They have similar skill set with no wasted stuff. They also get a much bigger magic bonus. Instead of 0.5, it's 1.5 times your int, which is huge. That would be if you had 50 int, you'd gain an extra 75 magicka, which is a lot. They also have a 50% weakness to magicka, fire, frost, and shock. These are a little less, but the magicka is pretty bad. And they're resistant to disease. So this is overcomeable. High Elves make a pretty good option. One of the chief most perks of being a High Elf is this doofy Keebler-ass hairstyle that you can have here. I love it. Love it. Imperials. This Imperial just looks very amused at all times. Like, you told him a joke that's not very funny, but it's kind of funny. They have an interesting setup here. They get Mercantile Speechcraft, and Long Blade, and Light Armor, but then they also suffer from Hand-to-Hand and Blunt, which aren't very helpful. They get 2 useless abilities in Star of the West, which is Fatigue Absorb, and Voice of the Emperor, which is a Charm. These are pretty much useless. You can replace them with regular spells that you don't have to use with a once-per-day limit pretty easily. Khajiit, again, Beast Race, useless. Shame, because he's amazing spread of skills. Only hand-to-hand there is particularly bad. Eye of Night gives them night vision as much as they want to use it. And the amazing Eye of Fear is Demoralize Humanoid 100 points for 30 seconds on target. That means pretty much any humanoid enemy, including like the regular races of Tamriel and stuff, they would just run away from you if you use that on them. You do not have to deal with fights sometimes. Once a day you just say, nah, hell with it, we're done here. And that's great. That is super powerful. It's one of the 3 greatest dailies in the game. Easily a 3-way tie with the other 2. Nords are pretty good. They're a direct fighty race. You're not going to do a lot of other stuff with them. They have Axe, Blunt Weapon, Heavy Armor, Long Blade, Medium Armor, and Spear. So they've got a ton of wasted skill points in that spread. Tons. If you could put that 10 in Heavy Armor, you have like 15 Heavy Armor and like 15 Axe or something, and just ditch the other stuff. Oh, that'd be amazing. They are immune to Frost, so no Frost damage can hit them. They resist 50% of Shock, and then they have Woad, which is a worthless shield, and Thunder Fist, which is a worthless damage spell. So they're okay. They suffer from a terrible skill spread unless you are just a pure warrior and taking only warrior skills, in which case they're fine. Orcs are really cool. Orcs have only 1 wasted skill, and that's either heavy or medium armor. Armor is fine. Axe and block are great. They are 25% resistant to all magicka, which is nice, and they have one of the 3 great skills, Berserk, which fortifies everything you need in a fight and drains your agility, which you don't care about in a fight, for 60 seconds. So yeah, you'll hit like every one of your attacks. You'll always land them. You'll do tons of just beat down. You'll have practically infinite fatigue. You'll have a lot of extra health. It's fantastic. Once a day, they're just unstoppable. Redguard is the holder of the 3rd and final really great skill, but let's look at their bonuses here. Athletics is fine. You have Axe, Blunt, and Long and Short Blade. That's kind of poopy. Heavy Armor and Medium Armor, again, not great. But that 15 Long Blade, that's pretty sweet, even if you have some skill points wasted on other things like Blunt and Axe. 15 plus 15 to your Long Blade is nice. 100's the cap you can have in a skill, period. They are 75% resistant to disease, 75% resistant to poison, and they have the phenomenal Adrenaline Rush, which basically fortifies all of your useful stats in a fight for 60 seconds by a huge amount. Your stat cap is 100. These are fortifying your relevant stats by 50. Red Guards are, again, another race that is, for 1 minute each day, absolutely unstoppable. And finally, we have Wood Elves. Wood Elves have one of the only skill bonus sets that has no wasted skills. They have acrobatics, which is fine. Alchemy, fine. Light armor, great. Marksman, great. Sneak, great. No extra weapons, no extra armors. Everything there is good, and it's very easy to optimize a Wood Elf. They have 75% resist disease, and they can charm, essentially make any animal within a few levels of them, or a few levels over them, their companion, like their combat pet, for 10 minutes once a day. It's quite powerful, actually. Beast Tongue's really good, highly underrated, but not quite as good as Khajiit, Orc, or Redguard's I win the fight buttons. The other great thing about Wood Elf is, well, that face for one, but the really great thing about Wood Elf is that you can look like this. And that's just amazing. Look at this man. This is the hero that Tamriel needs right here. This saggy-cheeked mofo with his Keebler hair. Elf on the shelf. This done with your shit looking guy here. I love him. So we're going to pick a race. I'm going to be a Breton, because I have a Breton name. Chateau Solvayre is a perfectly acceptable Breton name. We're going to change our face around a little bit. Well, first of all, we're gonna go back to the starting face. We're gonna change that damn hair, because that hair is unacceptable. That hair's fine. That hair is fine. The lack of hair is fine. That's great if you just want to be old. That one is just unacceptable. No. No one does that. Don't do that. Only villains do that. We're gonna go with the regular hair here, I think. That looks fine. Let's get a face. That's an okay face. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's kind of nice. That one's okay. He's seen some shit. I'm going to go with this one here. And that's what we look like. Okay.
Great. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
It's really fun when he says that and you're like an orc or something, or a Khajiit. He's like, I'm sure you'll fit right in. I will say the upscaler did a pretty good job. The water effect on the other like graphics overhaul I'm using looks great. That water looks fantastic. That reflections in it. Oh man, it used to just be a blue box. The upscaler also did a really good job with his chainmail. Wow, that looks nice. This tree, not so much. Tree maybe not great. Tree not 100% on the tree. The stonework though looks nice. So yeah, a lot of the game looks better. That's good, without changing its actual appearance, because this is what it looked like, just blurrier.
Head on in.
These leaves are still that way in Skyrim, man. They still do that shit. All right.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice
is yours. Oh boy, I love Celis. Or Socusius. Celis Gravius is in another room. This is Socusius Urgala. You can answer his questions, which will generate a class that you won't want. I guarantee you. You can give him the info, which lets you pick from, I think, 21 pre-made classes, or you can fill out the forms yourself, which I'm going to do because that's the best way to build yourself. Our class name is just Adventurer. That's fine. Our specialization. So if you pick a specialization here, you get +5 to all of the skills in that specialization. There's combat, magicka, and stealth. Okay. So they'll also be slightly easier to increase. Now, in order to explain this to you, I first need to explain how leveling up works. So, when you gain, I think it's like 10 skill points or something like that, 5 or 10, somewhere around there, you can gain a level if they're within your major and minor skills, right? Now, depending on what skills you raised, it will govern what stats you're going to gain. When you gain a level, you get to pick 3 of your, I think like 8 stats, your attributes, and increase them. If, for example, you've gotten block, and you've been using a lot of blocking, you've been governing, it's governing agility. So you can gain a lot more agility, up to 5 points instead of the 1 default if you hadn't been training any agility skills. If you've been training block and armor, you could take strength and agility, and they would go up by between 2 and 5 instead of 1, depending on how much you've been using them. So we're going to pick our specialization for that. And our specialization is going to be stealth. which means we get a bonus to security, acrobatics, short blade, mercantile, hand-to-hand, sneak, light armor, marksman, and speechcraft. That's fine by me. Okay, so our favorite attributes. There's one attribute you should always take, luck. And the reason for that is there are no governing skills for luck, so you can't raise luck by more than 1 per level, ever. So what I'm getting here is plus 10 luck. Just flat out. That's 10 level ups worth of luck being gained. And luck is really useful because luck gives you better loot among many other things. Now, sorry, I had to take a drink. It's very talk heavy. So your other attribute, there's a lot of good choices. Most of these are good choices. I'm going to take endurance because this affects my starting health and my health gain per level. Bretons do not have a ton of health. Their endurance starts out fairly low because they are generally caster focused. Now, that said, if I take endurance, I can gain plus 10 endurance, which means I will gain more health per level. It's not retroactive, so you want to get that endurance up. So, now we pick our major skills. Major skills get a significant bonus. I think it's plus 15? And minor skills get like plus 10 or something? You pick these. Major skills are much easier to level, and minor skills are somewhat easier to level. Everything else will get dumped into miscellaneous skills, which level fairly slowly. So we want to pick a good spread of these that govern the attributes that we're going to care about, too. Which is why, since I want a lot of endurance, my first choice is going to be probably spear. But let's explain combat stats here. So, block. If you block successfully, which is just a percentage chance, it's a flat chance, depending on your block skill, basically, you will remove all damage from that attack. You will take no damage. It only works on melee. You can't block arrows, I don't think, and you certainly can't block magic. Good skill. Block, very good skill. Governs agility. Armor, so that's strength. Weapons and armor lose durability as you use them in this. As you get hit, your armor loses durability. As you use your weapon, it loses durability. When they have very low durability, they are not very effective. And if they break, you have to take them off and can't use them until you fix them. You can fix them with hammers and tongs and items that you pick up like that using this skill. While this is a good skill, and strength is a good stat, I'm not going to take it because, honestly, I can just always get more repair stuff, so I don't need to be that super great at it. Plus, I can pay a blacksmith to do it. Medium armor. This is endurance. So first, I want to explain heavy armor before I explain medium. Heavy armor is iron, steel, silver, dwemer, ebony, and daedric armor. Okay. Those are the big armors. They weigh a ton, they have the highest defense in the game, and they have very high caps to hold like buffs and enchantments on them that you can infuse into your equipment. So heavy armor is great. The other option for me is light armor over here in stealth. That's agility instead of endurance. Light armor is what? Leather, boil, leather, fur, chitin, and glass in the base game. And light armor gives you the best weight to protection ratio of any armor. Like, per weight point, you get more protection with light than you would with heavy or medium. Light armor is bad at holding a lot of enchantments, except for, I think, glass, which can hold an enchantment pretty good. Medium armor is the middle ground. Normally, medium armor is not a great choice, but I'm kind of into the idea of it in this. That's chain, scale, bone mold, and orcish in the base game. But I think I'm gonna go with heavy armor, actually. So let's put that down here. So heavy armor. Now we need to pick a weapon. Now, my weapon options are short blade over here, which is speed. It's not very good. There's not a lot of great short blades, in my opinion. They're fast, but you need to swing them so many times to kill somebody compared to swinging a long blade that it's just, there's no question about it. I'm just skipping short blade entirely. So, blunt weapons. Blunt weapons are strength-based. This will be weird coming from, like, Skyrim, where it's just one-handed and two-handed, or Oblivion, where it's blade and blunt. In this, it's short blade, long blade, axe, spear, blunt. There's not a lot of great, unique blunt weapons. There are a couple. I can think of a couple, but nothing really that's going to make me want to pick blunt weapon on this guy. So our choices are really long blade, axe, or spear. Axes, I don't I just personally don't think much of in this. They're great in Skyrim. Great weapon choice in Skyrim. But in this, it's really long blades are probably the best options, but I'm not going to take long blade. Because long blade's governing attribute is strength, and I don't need a ton of strength right now. What I want is endurance, and that's the governing attribute for spears. Spears will be alien to you if you are coming from later Elder Scrolls games. This is their last appearance, is Morrowind. Now, spears are nice because you can kind of almost melee kite people around by just being just out of the range of their weapon and poking them a bunch. Spears are pretty okay. There are not a lot of unique spears, and spears themselves are slightly rare, but there are some pretty good ones. Pretty good ones. And I'm going to take spear, because that's 2 skills that are governing endurance, so I should have no trouble getting my endurance up every level, which is important because I need lots of health. Now, we have 3 more major skill options here. What have we not covered here? We have not covered athletics. Athletics makes you go faster. Higher your athletics, the faster you walk, run, and swim. That's all. The problem with this is if you take this as a major or minor skill, you will level it up so fast that you will just gain levels just nonstop, and you will keep getting low bonuses because you haven't had time to train skills up to get more stats. So don't take this as anything but a miscellaneous skill at the end. In Magic, we have a few good things here. Enchant. Enchantment is the shit in Morrowind. It's okay in Oblivion and Skyrim. It's pretty good, even. I'll go to bat for enchantment in all of the Elder Scrolls games. But in Morrowind, enchant is insanely good. You need enchant. I'm going to take it as a major skill, and here's why. Because it governs the use and recharging of enchanted items, it says. So when you use an enchanted item, it drains some charge from it. It will have, say, 90 points of charge. Say it's a sword that hits people and sets them on fire. Every time you hit someone, it will take away maybe 3 charge. So you can get, 30 swings of that thing before it needs recharging. If your enchant skill is really high, it will take less per swing, maybe 2 or even 1, before you need to recharge it. And they will recharge on their own, too. But you can recharge them yourself using an item called a soul gem, which you're better at doing with a higher enchant. Enchant also makes you better at making enchanted weapons. So enchant is just all around super important for me and my build. So it's absolutely my number 1 major skill, just right at the top of the list. Now, we've got magic. Destruction is shooting fireballs, lightning bolts, that kind of stuff, right? I'm torn on destruction. I don't know if I need that or not yet. It's governed by willpower, by the way. Enchant was intelligence. So we've got an intelligence skill that we're going to be pumping heavily. Destruction is willpower. Alteration is stuff like water walking, breathing underwater, jumping super high, flying, opening locked things magically, barrier spells. Alteration's pretty great. Sooner or later in this game, you will cast several alteration spells. You will want them. The question is, how important is that right now? And I don't know yet. I'm torn on that one too. Illusion. Okay, illusion makes people blind. You can light up areas. You can paralyze. Paralyze is great, by the way. Silence. Silence is pretty good. Calm and enrage are good. Charm. Camouflage. Invisibility. All great stuff. This is governed by personality, which is interesting because it's one of the only things that governs personality that you can level pretty quickly. I might take illusion as a major skill. My other big choice here is conjuration, which is summon allies, summon equipment. You can get bound weapons and armor that you can just have, which is, I believe, heavy armor. It's Daedric, so yes, so that would go well with my heavy armor skill. I think I'm going to take conjuration as a major skill. We have 1 more major skill to pick, and there are 2 good magic choices here. Mysticism. Conjuration, by the way, was intelligence. So we have 2 good intelligence and 2 good endurance, so we're good on that. Mysticism is willpower. Mysticism is all kinds of weird, useful shit. Soul binding, which is how you get soul gems to do enchanting stuff and to recharge enchantments. Teleportation, and I mean teleporting like to cities and stuff, just wherever you want to go, practically. Telekinesis, absorbing or reflecting magic, stuff like sense keys, sense enemies, sense magic, all kinds of cool things. Mysticism, pretty great. probably going to take that. Everyone ends up casting a lot of mysticism magic in this game. It's just going to happen. I don't care how much of a barbarian thug you are, you still need soul gems. You still need fast travel. You still need, some magic resist or something here and there. So mysticism's a good choice. And that is willpower, which is something we don't have a governing skill for yet. Restoration is also willpower. That's your healing stuff, basically. There are a couple things in this game that damage your stats, and you need powerful restoration magic to get your stats back, because they don't come back by sleeping. They're just damaged. They're cursed. Restoration can get rid of that. So can, however, alchemy. In fact, alchemy can do absolutely everything restoration does, and alchemy is something that you're going to be doing no matter what. Again, it's one of those, you will do this no matter how much of a thug you are. So restoration is not that important. I would take it over alchemy simply because it's willpower rather than intelligence, and I have like 2 intelligence skills in conjuration and enchant. Finally, we have alchemy, which I already talked about. Unarmored. Unarmored is worthless. Never take unarmored. There's no penalty for me wearing heavy armor other than the weight. Like, it's going to weigh a lot, yes, but I can still cast all my spells. That doesn't matter. There's no reason for anybody, even a magic user, to take unarmored. You're better off in light armor than no armor. A decent set of light armor, like a mid-game set of light armor with even moderate light armor skill, is better than 100 unarmored. Handily. This skill is useless. Don't take it. There's no need for it. Governs speed. It's one of the only speed skills. Athletics is one of the other ones. I think there's one other. Where's the other speed skill? It's short blade. Well, that sucks because you don't really want any of the speed skills, and speed is a great stat. So now onto stealth. Security. This is picking locks, picking pockets, disarming traps. Okay, so... Ooh, boy. Well, no, sneak is actually picking pockets in this. Security is just locks and traps. There will come a time in this game, no matter who you are, just as I've said before, that you will need to open something that you're not allowed into. You will have to do it. Either you have an alteration spell to let you in there, or a scroll of that spell, or you have security, or you ain't getting in. Because otherwise you have to like pickpocket keys and all kinds of stuff, and that gets rough. Let me tell you. That ain't so easy. Security's not a bad choice, but again, it's intelligence, and I'm not really that desperate for it. So, sneak. Sneak is okay in this. It's much better in later games. Sneak lets you move around unseen, and you're also a good pickpocket. There's a lot of occasions that I would want sneak. I am not the toughest dude around. I'm probably going to get through a lot of combat by hiding and summoning demons. Pretty much. Or zombies or ghosts or something. I'm going to summon something in most combat situations. So sneak, good choice. We're going to make sneak a major skill, and that governs agility, so we've got something for that too now. Now, we need 5 minor skills. So let's keep going. Acrobatics. That makes you jump higher. Full stop. Same problem that athletics has. You'll level it way too fast normally, so don't take it as a major or minor skill. Light armor. Light armor we've already covered. I'm using heavy, so I don't need light. Short blade. We've talked about short blade. Short blade's just not as good, so I'm not using it. Marksman. Marksman is my jam. Okay, this is bows, crossbows, throwing stars, throwing knives, darts, anything that's a ranged physical object is marksman. Marksman's pretty great. You can do a lot with marksman. It's very damaging, especially in the early game where I'm going to be at my most vulnerable. So marksman, absolutely a minor skill. Gimme, gimme. Mercantile. Not necessary. Just gets you better prices. You'll get a lot of gold in the game, but it can be nice. Governing attribute is personality. Now, speechcraft, on the other hand, also personality. This is important. This is a game about talking to people a lot. And the better you are at that, the more likely you are to get the things you need, because a lot of quests simply hit a roadblock because the person you need to do something with is like, I hate you, you're a dick. Don't talk to me, I'm not doing the quest stuff for you. And then you're just stopped until you make that person like you, which is very expensive or requires good speechcraft. So I'm going to take speechcraft. It's actually quite important. And finally, hand-to-hand. Hand-to-hand is useless. Here's why. Oh, it's also a speed stat. Unfortunate for speed. Hand-to-hand, you punch people. It drains their fatigue rather than their health. You can't kill them that way. Once their fatigue runs out completely, they fall down. When they're on the ground, recovering their fatigue, you can hit them and damage their health. Then you can kill them. There's a bug in the base game where you can't loot people who are just knocked out. The code patch fixes that, but hand-to-hand is still not worth it because there are no hand-to-hand weapons, obviously. There's no, like, knuckle dusters or anything like there should be. So your hand-to-hand damage will never be good. You will be nothing compared to somebody with, say, an axe. In the late game, they're going to do literally like tens of times your damage. It's just hopeless. There is a way to make hand-to-hand ridiculously good, but it requires breaking the game. It requires you making, like, potions and spells of fortify hand-to-hand by, like, 500%. And it's just not worth it. So, we have 4 more things that we need to pick. And I'm probably going to pick minor skills that are stat-based here. 3 more things, I'm sorry. So I have intelligence, I have agility, I have endurance, I have personality. What are we missing? Strength, willpower, we're not getting any speed. So strength and willpower, basically. I could use some strength and willpower-based stuff. Now, what's strength and willpower? Armor is strength, so I will take it just to have something strength-related. We need something willpower-related, so let's grab mysticism, and let's grab restoration. And there you go. There's our complete class set. Our specialization is stealth. Our favorite attributes are endurance and luck. In fact, I'm going to change my specialization to magic, actually, because I'm using more of it. Our major skills are enchant, conjuration, sneak, spear, heavy armor, marksman, speechcraft, armorer, mysticism, and restoration.
Very good. The letter that preceded, you mentioned you were born under a certain
sign.
And what would that be?
I love him. Okay, one more thing to talk about before we get properly started here is birth signs. There's 13 of them. Some of them are very bad. Some of them are quite good. Let's go over them and why we're making our choice. The Apprentice. This gives you the same kind of Fortify Maximum Magicka, 1.5 times your int, that you get for being like a high elf. It's much stronger than the one you get as a Breton. It stacks with those, and it also gives you 50% weakness to Magicka. Now, if I took this, I would end up with no weakness to Magicka, because the 50% that I have weakness from this would counteract the 50% resist I have. So we just have 0% Magicka resist, basically. It's a pretty good choice, especially for a Breton. The Atronach. This is the best one in the game, basically. So you get Fortify Maximum Magicka 2 times your int, which is huge. If you have 50 int, you're getting an extra 100 Magicka. You have Spell Absorption, which means at 50 points of that, you're absorbing roughly 50% of the Magicka of any spells that hit you. They're doing half of their effect, and you're instead getting half of it back as magic. But you also have Stunted Magicka. Stunted Magicka means you never regenerate Magicka naturally. You don't regenerate it from sleeping. You only get it back from potions and from your spell absorption. This is not really a problem if you know what you're doing. So Atronach is great. I'm not going to take it, though. The Lady. Lady's pretty great because it's just 2 Fortify stats. Fortify Personality, 25 points, important stat, and Fortify Endurance, 25 points, super important stat. These are permanent buffs. They never go away. They help you reach your cap much faster. The Lord. Lord's horrible. You get weakness to fire 100%, and in exchange for that, you get a terrible heal spell. What a deal. Don't take Lord. It's really bad. I'm going to get a free item that heals me for a decent amount, even compared to this, in like the first minute of gameplay. The Lover. Lover gives you 25 more agility, which is pretty good, but you get a crappy power. Once per day, you can paralyze the target for 60 seconds. That's really amazing, but you also damage your fatigue 200 points. So you basically can't really do any fighting then. So there's not much point to it, because you would only paralyze someone if you were really going to kill him, probably, and you're not going to do that. In a fight with multiple people, you've screwed yourself. You've stopped one guy, but the other one's going to kick your ass now. Don't take Lover. The Mage. This is just straight up the Breton's Magicka bonus, just over again, but with no penalty. It's alright. I'd rather have the Apprentice as just about anybody, though, because you can overcome Magicka weakness pretty easily. The Ritual. The Ritual has Mara's Gift. This is an actual good sign power. Restore health 100 points, just instantly. That's pretty good. That's powerful. The 2 spells you get, not great. Turn Undead, nobody cares. Nobody cares Turn Undead. I'd rather just throw a fireball at them. Who gives a crap? The Serpent exists to be the worst thing in the game so that the Lord doesn't feel bad, I guess. It poisons the target for 90 damage, and then it also damages you for 30 damage, essentially. Why hurt yourself to hurt people when you can do damage by hurting them without hurting yourself? Not good. The Shadow. I'll go to bat for the Shadow. Shadow's much maligned in this game. People say invisibility for 60 seconds once a day is useless. No, that is pretty good, actually. You can get into and out of a lot of situations with that. You can't attack or use anything while you're invisible, or it will dispel it. But it does let you get places that you ought not be. Real good, and sneak past some areas and stuff. That 60-second invisibility, the Shadow's pretty okay. I think it is overshadowed, as it were, by some of the other signs. But it is an okay choice. It is acceptable. The Steed, flat out 25 more speed. No muss, no fuss. The Thief, 10 points of Sanctuary. Sanctuary, as we mentioned when we were talking about Dark Elves, is just dodge. This gives you another 10% chance to dodge anything. Just all the time. It's good. It's actually quite good, but there's just better choices, I think. It's much like the Shadow in that it's good, but it's not amazing. The Tower. Tower gives you an interesting power and a somewhat useful spell for newer players. Beggar's Nose, your spell, lets you detect animals, enchantments, and keys in 200 feet for a minute. And this is just a spell. It's not a power. So you can use it multiple times a day. You just have this on whenever you need it. It's actually pretty good, but I know where keys and stuff generally are, so it's not that important for me. It can be quite useful, though. I will say the tower's a good choice. Its power is interesting, too. It's the tower key. You touch something, and if its lock is level 50 or less of a possible 100, it opens. It's just not locked anymore. That lock is gone. There is a spell you can buy, however, that replicates this effect and is cheap, and you can use it as much as you want in a day. So this kind of becomes irrelevant, this tower key. It's not bad, it's just made obsolete later. So not that big a deal. And the Warrior, Fortify Attack, 10 points. Fortifying Attack, this is like your chance to hit. It's like the anti-Sanctuary, basically. Having a better hit rate is important, and I will explain this right now. If I swing my sword, say, and I hit an enemy, I don't necessarily actually hit them. I have to physically connect with it in the game world, but then it rolls a die to see if it actually hits. And only then does it deal damage if I successfully hit. So that is important. But I'm going to take the Lady because, A, endurance, very important for me, and that personality, there's so much talking to people in this game. You need personality, or you need really high speechcraft, or ideally, both. So it's the Lady all the way for me with this character, 100%.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Okay, so we are Chay Silver, the Breton adventurer under the sign of the Lady. We look at our stats now. We've got 40 health. That's not great. 75 magicka. That's pretty good. And 185 fatigue, which is okay. Fatigue's like your sprint bar and various other things. If you run out of health, you die. If you run out of magicka, you can't cast spells. If you run out of fatigue, you can't do a lot of things. But fatigue comes back very quickly just by standing around. Health and magicka do not. You need to restore them with magic or potions in the case of health, or potions in the case of magicka, or resting, which will restore health and magic. 40 strength. This governs our carry weight mostly, since a lot of our damage will be from non-melee sources. So 40 strength is okay for now. Intelligence of 50, that's our maximum magicka determinant. So we have, it's 1-to-1, so we got 50 base magicka plus another 25 from our 0.5 times magicka bonus for being a Breton. So willpower, that's your magic resist and your maximum fatigue, that's fine. Agility, dodge and hit, not great at 30. Speed, not great at 30. Endurance, that's our starting health per level and our maximum fatigue. 65 is pretty sweet to start us off. Personality of 65, whew, yeah. And a nice luck of 50. We would need 50 levels to get our luck to 100, for example. That's why it's important to get that 10 points of luck at the start. Now, our all-important major skills. Our enchant is a good, healthy 35. Our conjuration is a healthy 45. We're going to be casting some good conjuration. Sneak of 30, spear of 30, heavy armor of 30. All these cap at 100. Spear of 30, we should land some of our hits reasonably easily. Marksman of 15, we're going to need to train that up. Speechcraft of 15, going to need that. Armor of 15. Mysticism, Restoration are 30. Everything else is 5 except for Destruction, which is 10. Unarmored is 10, we don't care about that. Alteration, Illusion, and Alchemy are 15. So that's pretty good. And there's our stuff. We do start with some spells. We get Hearth Heal, which is restore 20 to 80 health. That's potentially healing our entire health bar twice over. We can summon a Bound Dagger, which just gives us a very powerful dagger for 60 seconds that doesn't weigh anything. We can summon a Ghost, which will help us, and we can detect creatures. We'll get plenty more spells later, don't worry. We'll be making our own spells before too long.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your
release fee. Yep. He's done with us. For release by Emperor Uriel Septim VII's decree to the district of Vardenfell in the province of Morrowind. Chatel Silver, the Breton adventurer. Signed, Socusius Argala, agent of the Satanine Imperial Census and Excise, 16th of last seed, 3rd era, year 427. I need to take that with me. Now, in the interest of explaining, there is a kind of a exploit you can do here. I'm not going to do it, but if you pick stuff up right now and you just steal stuff, they can't really stop you. You're technically not a citizen yet, so they won't throw you in jail. They just say, hey, don't do that, and they take the thing you stole away. But if you pick it up and then you drop it on the floor real quick before they can reach you to take it, then you can pick it up again when they're done yelling at you, and it's yours. A lot of people do this with this limeware platter because it's worth 650 gold, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to steal all our stuff legitimately, if that makes sense.
To the next building and talk to Celes Gravius.
Let's talk to Gansiel Duar here, actually. I'm an officer of the Imperial Legion. Move along. Yeah, instantly you get Oblivion vibes every time you talk to an Imperial, don't you? We have garrisons at Fort Pelagiad in Pelagiad, Hawkmoth Fort in Ebonheart, Fort Moonmouth in Balmora, Fort Buckmouth in Aldrune, and Fort Darius in Nessus. Were you looking to join the Imperial Legion? All the garrisons are presently at full strength, except perhaps the Death's Head Legion at Fort Darius in the West Gash near the village of Nessus. If you're interested, you'll have to talk to General Darius there. So Cutius, I don't think, has anything to tell us. No, just the Imperial Legion. The Imperial Legion provides security for the Census and Excise offices here in Satanine. The troopers you see here are assigned to guard duty here, and the troopers outside in Satanine, they're guards, officers of the law. Okay. I should note also, persuasion here, you can admire, which gets people to like you more. Intimidate, which makes people want to fight you more and like you less. This is important. You can use this to kill people sometimes, because if you intimidate somebody, intimidate makes them like you less, and fear you. Taunt makes them fight you. If you taunt somebody into fighting you and they land the first hit, then it's self-defense if you kill them and you don't go to jail. You also bribe to just turn money into reputation with somebody, or like disposition. And training. Everybody can train you, just about, and they'll train you in 3 skills. Here's how training works. You pay money to the person, you gain a skill point. So if your sneak was, say, 20, and I paid him 320 GP, I'd become sneak 21, and then the price would go up, and I could do it again to gain more. It scales with whatever your level is. You cannot train a stat, or a skill, higher than its governing stat. So in the case of acrobatics, if I have 20 strength, I can't train acrobatics to 21. I can only train it up to 20. I can naturally level it by jumping a lot past that, but I can't train it past my stat. The other restriction on training is they can't train you to be better than they are. So if Socusius Ergala here is a level 30 acrobat, he can't train me to 31, no matter how high my strength is. Just ever. So that's important to know. We will use training occasionally. It is very helpful. Can you train me? No, you don't provide training. Okay. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't, but a lot of people do. Let's close that up. And now we do the most important thing that you do as anybody in an Elder Scrolls game. You loot everything that's not nailed down. Let's take those buckets. There's a soul gem. Hey, I need a lot of those. I'm going to use that later. Here's a vase. Don't care, but it's worth money. We sell that. Gold cannon. There's a flower. Kaguti hide. These are alchemy ingredients, and we want them. Black lichen, yes. Marshmallow. Stoneflower petals and resin. Yes, all good alchemy stuff. We will use a lot of alchemy in this game. Ash yams. Bloat. Corkbulb root, green lichen, all stuff I want. Drew wax, netch leather, rue brush, yes, please. No, okay. Marshmallow again. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff all around. Nothing else really in here. Close up, be tidy. Please rewind. Take all this bread. Take the paper, we might use that for something. Let's take your dishware here. Let's take this crab meat. Somebody's just eating some crab meat on a plate. Candlestick. That's a light source, but I'm going to sell it for money more likely. I can cast light sources pretty easy later. Crab meat. Scrib jerky, yes. No, give me all the scrib jerky. Why would I only want one? Small kwama egg. More crab meat, more scrib jerky, more small kwama eggs. Okay. Take all these bottles. That candle. Take all this stuff. Technically, this is all stolen, but I'm going to offload it pretty quick and easy without angering anybody. Kwama egg here. This is Mazte. This is a local booze, essentially. Also local booze here, Flynn. Now, interestingly, because I have some alchemy, I can tell what some of these things do. For example, if I were to eat this black lichen, it would drain my strength. It would do 3 other things, but I don't know what they are because my alchemy's not high enough yet. If I drink this Flynn, it will give me essentially 20 more willpower and 20 more strength for 60 seconds. That's what fortify means. You gain more of it. Mazte would fortify my strength, but drain my willpower. It wouldn't make the willpower permanently reduced. That's not damage. Drain is just for those 60 seconds. Then it would come back. So, for example, where's my bread? I'm looking for my bread and all this mess. There's bread. Yeah, it would just restore fatigue. If I eat the bread, I'll get fatigue back. Okay. Let's grab this lockpick. You're going to equip that. Here's how you pick locks. You pull out your lockpick. You point at the chest. You waggle your lockpick at it. That's it. I get 31 gold. Gold, I should note, has other names in this. It's also called septums for the Emperor's face being on the head's side, and drakes for a picture of a dragon on the tail's side. So, septums, drakes, gold, whatever. It's all the same. Don't worry. The iron dagger here we want. It's going to be our first weapon. Let's show you a little bit of combat here. Okay, so. Pretty fast, right? You'll notice my fatigue going down. It's that green bar in the bottom corner. I can attack fast. If you're going sideways, you do little, like, swingy choppy chops. I don't know why that's... I need to turn on VSync, apparently. I'll get that fixed in the next episode. If you're just standing there, you do overhead chops. If you're going forward, you do thrusty thrusts. If you're going backwards, you do thrusty thrusts, okay? That's all you need to know. We're going to be moving forward and backwards with spears a lot because of thrusty thrust. And you can see now, my fatigue is low from all that swinging, but it's going back up. Here's a note. Riskar, don't think I've forgotten our wager. I want this dagger as sharp as a scamp's claw by morning. Ganseal. So that guard in the last room we were just in apparently knows a Riskar and has some kind of bet about how sharp he can make a dagger. Interesting. And finally we have a book, which we will read a little later, but we're going to take it with us for now. We are finally outside. I have a map. Big place. Morrowind here. Big place. Let's check this barrel. In here we got a bottle, we got a vase, and an engraved ring of healing. Now that's our first magical item. Let's explain magic. Okay, so... Oh, the other thing that's important to note is... What is the tab? Yeah. You run like a goober. Look at this guy. Look at this guy go. You walk with an absolute badass swag, but you run like a total doof. Also, if you crouch, you walk real silly. It's good. I like this game. Okay, so, magic. Because I have that now, I don't even have to have it equipped, really, if I don't want to. If it were giving me constant effect stuff, I would need it equipped, but because it's in my inventory at all, I can use it. Now, this would give me the effect of restore health 1 to 5 points on myself. Note charge, 4 out of 20. This has a total of 20 charge. 1 use of it costs 4, meaning I have 5 uses of it before it's completely depleted. However, if I use it, which I will, that does equip it to you instantly. What's it? R for magic, yeah. I just healed myself. Now you'll notice it says 4 out of 15. So it's actually slightly more than 4. It's like 4.5 or something. So I have 15 charge left. That will go back up on its own as time passes. It takes it not too long to recover some. But you can recharge it using soul gems. This one I can't because I haven't put a soul in it yet. I got to get a soul trap for that. But that's the basics of the game. We're going to go in here, we're going to talk to this guy, and we're going to start our game in the next episode here. Let's talk to Celis Gravius. First, let me take your identification papers. Thank you. Word of your arrival only reached me yesterday. I am Celis Gravius, but my background is not important. I am here to welcome you to Morrowind. I'm Celis Gravius, a knight-errant of the Imperial Legion. Let's ask about the Legion. He has the same thing to say, although he did give us the keyword Balmora now. Same thing about joining. Let's ask about Morrowind. Yes, you're in Morrowind. I don't know why you're here, or why you were released from prison and shipped here, but your authorization comes directly from Emperor Uriel Septim VII himself, and I don't need to know any more than that. When you leave this office, you are free. But before you go, I have instructions on your duties. Instructions from the Emperor, so pay careful attention. Excuse me. I'm going to have to pause occasionally to drink a little water. This is a very talky game. Let's ask about Uriel Septim here. Yes, Uriel Septim is still the Emperor. According to my instructions, he personally authorized your release from prison and your delivery here. It's all very mysterious, but that's the way the Empire works. Silence. Secrecy. Let not the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Yes, of course, this is the Empire. This is the Vardenfell district of the province of Morrowind, and Morrowind has been part of the Empire for over 400 years. The current Emperor is Uriel Septim, 24th of the Septim line. You haven't been in prison that long, have you? Nothing wrong with your head, is there? The men said you were acting a little strange when they brought you in from the ship. Yeah, I was acting a little strange because I had a dream about a reverb lady talking to me. Let's see here. Well, let's ask him about duties, then. This package came with the news of your arrival. You are to take it to Caius Cosades in the town of Balmora. Go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for Caius Cosades. They'll know where to find him. Serve him as you would serve the Emperor himself. I also have a letter for you and a dispersal to your name. So we got a quest update. We have directions to Caius Cosades, a package for Caius Cosades, and 87 more gold. That's pretty good. Thanks, Celis. Anything else we should ask about? Yes, Caius Cosades. Report to Caius Cosades in Balmora. I can't tell you where to find him, but you are to go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for him. Someone there can direct you to him. Let's ask about Balmora. Balmora is north of Seydanin. The road passes Pelagiad Village and Fort Pelagiad, crosses a deep ravine, passes Fort Moonmouth, then turns west across the Odai River and into Balmora. The South Wall Corner Club is in southeast Balmora, on the east side of the river. For more detailed directions, talk to Elone the Scout at Ariel's Trade House here in Seydanin. But take my advice. You're new here. Take the Silt Strider to Balmora. Fast, cheap, safe. Cross the bridge and head east. Can't miss it. There is no quest markers in Morrowind. There is no fast travel to your next destination just from wherever you want. The directions he gave you are how you get there, and you need to know them. Just, you might get Balmora roughly on your map, but if you want to get there efficiently, he actually gave you directions. And this is common in this game. You do need to pay attention to what people say. Don't worry, I'm doing that for you. But I just want to point out what a neat feature that is. That, yeah, really, you just have to ask for directions to get somewhere, like in real life. It's pretty cool. So let's ask about your duties. It's my duties. You know your duties. Take that package to Caius Cosades in Balmora. What about your trade? I am a knight-errant of the Order of Ebonheart, and an Imperial emissary attached to the Census and Excise Office here in Seydanin. Let's ask about Imperials. I am proud to be an Imperial. Through our legions and rule of law, we've brought peace and civilization to the provinces of Tamriel. Okay, well, only one thing left to ask about is those Silt Striders. Silt Striders carry passengers and cargo between settlements on Vardenfell. Fares depend on distance to be traveled. Silt Striders are giant insects. The compartment for passengers and cargo is hollowed from the creature's shell. The driver directs the beast by directly manipulating exposed organs and tissues. Silt Striders travel between Aldrun, Balmora, Seydanin, Saran, Nisus, Molagmar, Margan, and North Landing near Vivek. Yes, your fast travel option in this is a giant walkie bug that they've hollowed out and are, like, body horror piloting by hand. It's amazing. Morrowind is a weird game. It is unashamedly weird, and it's beautifully weird. I love it so much. We've got everything we can get from Celis here.
Yes?
We don't want to do anything to make him mad at us. He has a pretty sweet cuirass there, though. So we're just going to head out into Satanin. And we're going to do one more thing before we go. At the end of every episode, I'm going to read a book, because there's a lot of books in the game, and I don't want to read them as I find them, because that would kind of break the flow of things. So we're going to read the Firmament now before we end the episode. That'll be at the end of every episode. I'll try to read a book that we haven't read yet. A couple other things to note here. You'll notice I've already gained some charge back on the ring. It's already gained 1. On my map here is stuff like... There's Balmora on my map, right there. But boy, is that generalized, because, man, Balmora's in this whole area of the map. And you gotta go there and find it in there. That's not exactly its perfect location. Like, it's not in the center of that square. It's somewhere in that cell of the world that's representing. So it's generally around, like, here-ish. Now, let's go ahead and read the Firmament. The Firmament, by Folk. The stars of Tamriel are divided into 13 constellations. 3 of them are the major constellations known as the Guardians. These are the Warrior, the Mage, and the Thief. Each of the Guardians protects its 3 charges from the 13th constellation, the Serpent. When the sun rises near one of the constellations, it is that constellation's season. Each constellation has a season of approximately 1 month. The Serpent has no season, for it moves about in the heavens, usually threatening one of the other constellations. The Warrior. The Warrior is the first Guardian constellation, and he protects his charges during their seasons. The Warrior's own season is Last Seed, when his strength is needed for the harvest. His charges are the Lady, the Steed, and the Lord. Those born under the sign of the Warrior are skilled with weapons of all kinds, but prone to short tempers. The Mage. The Mage is a Guardian constellation whose season is Rain's Hand when Magicka was first used by men. His charges are the Apprentice, the Golem, and the Ritual. Those born under the Mage have more Magicka and talent for all kinds of spellcasting, but are often arrogant and absent-minded. The Thief. The Thief is the last Guardian constellation, and her season is the darkest month of Evening Star. Her charges are the Lover, the Shadow, and the Tower. Those born under the sign of the Thief are not typically thieves, though they take risks more often and only rarely come to harm. They will run out of luck eventually, however, and rarely live as long as those born under other signs. The Serpent. The Serpent wanders about in the sky and has no season, though its motions are predictable to a degree. No characteristics are common to all who are born under the sign of the Serpent. Those born under this sign are the most blessed and the most cursed. The Lady. The Lady is one of the Warrior's charges, and her season is Hearthfire. Those born under the sign of the Lady are kind and tolerant. As an aside, that's our sign, which, being kind and tolerant, kind of explains why we get the stat bonuses that we do. It's nice that they put that in. The Steed. The Steed is one of the Warrior's charges, and her season is mid-year. Those born under the sign of the Steed are impatient and always hurrying from one place to another. The Lord. The Lord's season is first seed, and he oversees all of Tamriel during the planting. Those born under the sign of the Lord get a really lousy ability, and are weak to fire. Are stronger and healthier than those born under other signs. The Apprentice. The Apprentice's season is Sun's height. Those born under the sign of the Apprentice have a special affinity for magic of all kinds, but are more vulnerable to magic as well. The Atronach. The Atronach, often called the Golem, is one of the Mage's charges. Its season is Sun's dusk. Those born under this sign are natural sorcerers with deep reserves of magicka, but they cannot generate magicka of their own. The Ritual. The Ritual is one of the Mage's charges, and its season is Morning Star. Those born under this sign have a variety of abilities depending on the aspects of the moons and the divines. The Lover. The Lover is one of the Thief's charges, and her season is Sun's Dawn. Those born under the sign of the Lover are graceful and passionate. The Shadow. The Shadow's season is Second Seed. The Shadow grants those born under her sign the ability to hide in shadows. The Tower. The Tower is one of the Thief's charges, and its season is Frostfall. Those born under the sign of the Tower have a knack for finding gold, and can open all kinds of locks. So yes, basically it's a book on like the Tamrielic equivalent of real life astrology, except unlike real life, it's not complete stupid bullshit, and it actually has some effect on your life. So yeah, it's an interesting book that governs. It talks about like all these things and explains like why your sign does what it does. Basically, it's a neat little touch. There's a lot of that, and a lot of the story and the flavor of the game is in the books, and that's why we're going to read one every episode at the end. But we've read our book, so that is, of course, all the time we have for this episode. I thank you very much for watching the start of what's going to be a great adventure. I hope everybody will have fun with this. I know I'm going to have a great time. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now, everybody.